Hello, I'm Tony Coe, the host of TalkIT Global. In this episode, we'll explore Streamlit, a popular Python library among data scientists and analysts for building data visualization web applications. Not long ago, Amanda Kelly, co-founder of Streamlit and now head of product experience at Snowflake, visited Korea and appeared on a TalkIT webinar. During the session, she shared that Streamlit was created to solve common challenges faced by data professionals when working with data. And if you hear her explanation, you'll probably relate right away. Shall we take a listen?
Data scientists, machine learning engineers, they love Python. They know how to do things in Python. What if we could make it so easy? All of this great stuff that we know. Tiago's a really great designer and front-end engineer. What if we did that, but it was all in Python? And so that was the idea for Streamlit. Could we make something where you could just write one line of code? Right? I just need to see a bar graph. Right? I just need to see an image, right? I just need to have a button here and have it all done in Python and work as a script so it would work naturally, right, with the models that you were making and these other things, analysis that you were doing. Usually what happens in a company is, and you've worked as a data scientist, someone like me might come to you and say, Sue, why did this thing go this way, or what's going on with this? And your process might be, I got to get the data, I put it in a notebook, I'm trying to visualize it, I'm trying to figure it out, maybe I'm making some slides. Right now, I want to make it an interactive analysis. Now I've asked another team to maybe make an app for me, right? That whole process, they got to stand it up, they got to secure it. Like, I've seen these things take months, right? We constantly talk to companies who use Streamlit now, and they're like, it took us 6 months to make this thing. We recreated it in 6 hours. You know where the data is, but still, we use it for so few things. Because of that process, it's hard. It's hard for us to go and say, I need to figure out where the data is, I need to put it in analysis, I need to put it in an app. And so we stop asking questions of the data. But if we can make it fast, if we can power our engineers, right, our data scientists just to have that idea and put it on paper, right, we think that's incredibly powerful. And that's still the thing that drives us at Streamlit. And that's what we did, that's what took off kind of in the community. I think Streamlit's now the 6th fastest growing Python library,
right,
which is pretty impressive.
There were a few questions I didn't get a chance to ask during the webinar, and since I couldn't exactly invite Amanda Kelly back to Korea, I decided to talk it over with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I'm curious. Tools for data visualization. Like BI have been around for a long time, so what's the difference between BI and Streamlit?
The biggest difference is that BI tools typically create fixed format reports in a dashboard style, whereas Streamlit allows you to use Python to build much more interactive and customizable web apps for data visualization. It's more flexible, and it lets data scientists and developers write code directly to create exactly the kind of output they want.
For people who know Python, like data scientists, Streamlit offers a much more flexible and unrestricted way to try things out.
Exactly, that's right. For people who know Python, Streamlit is a tool that allows them to create the visualizations they want freely and quickly. That's why it's especially powerful when you want to experiment or explore data in various ways.
Back when the term data scientist first emerged, R was a very popular tool, and it still is today. R is known for having a wide range of libraries, but what's the difference between R and Streamlit?
R is a language specialized for data analysis and statistical work, and it has long been loved by data scientists thanks to its wide range of packages and libraries. Streamlit, on the other hand, is Python-based, making it a more familiar tool for developers or data scientists who primarily use Python. Both languages and tools have their own strengths and weaknesses, so it really comes down to personal preference and which one you feel more comfortable using.
What are the advantages of Streamlit compared to R?
The biggest advantage of Streamlit is that it's Python-based, which means it easily integrates with a wide range of libraries in the Python ecosystem. Another major benefit is that you can build interactive web apps with just a few lines of code, making the development process much simpler and faster. So for those who are familiar with Python, Streamlit feels like a more intuitive and efficient tool for producing results quickly.
When Streamlit was first created, there were already several tools in the market for building data visualization web apps. So why did Streamlit become a leader in this space? It turns out that the rise of COVID-19 and generative AI played a big role in its breakthrough. It really reminded me how crucial timing can be for a tech startup.
One of the first things that we realized we would have to build was an easy way for people to share these apps. We'd made it very easy to build them locally, right? But the next thing you want to do is put it in the hands of someone else, right? And that's a completely different skill set. And so we said, well, to continue this growth, we have to give people a free, easy way to deploy these. So we built what's now our community cloud product, and that launched about 4 months before COVID hit, right? So it launched, it started growing, but then all of a sudden COVID hits. And we start seeing all of these apps go viral, right? Overloading our services because everyone's at home. No one knows what's going on, right? The first apps are about what's going on in Italy, right? And then it's trying to grab data, like everybody's sharing data out there. And we thought, this is so powerful, right? So much of what's powerful in data is being able to share it with each others and have these open conversations. And there were so many universities and researchers at the time who used Streamlit actually as part of COVID to help. And then the last kind of other really big moment, right, it was after we came to Snowflake, but this is before anyone knows, right, that LLMs, right, are right around the corner. And then all of a sudden, right, that starts hitting the first models, get out there with ChatGPT. And again, we start seeing these apps go crazy, right, because again, it was the students, it was a lot of the researchers who figured out first some of the power of this. And because we've built Streamlit to work so easily with models and everything, some of the very first applications, right, that were coming out of LLMs were built in Streamlit apps, right? It's still a core part of OpenAI's stack, right, and so many others, because similar to that same value proposition back in the day, researchers are on the forefront. They need tools that just work in the languages, right, that they use, and that's why so much of LLM development and first applications actually is still built in Streamlit, and that's incredibly exciting.
Amanda Kelly, co-founder of Streamlit, is now head of product experience at Snowflake. But why did Streamlit merge with Snowflake, a leading AI data cloud company, back in 2022?
So from your perspective, what makes Streamlit and Snowflake such a powerful combination, and why do you think this integration is so particularly valuable for developers and data teams?
It's just, we watch users and we say, we do it ourselves. We say, what's the most frustrating step? And can we take something that's a pain point and make it more of a magic moment? And so much of what's really painful about developing is really just getting the data into a workable space, like having your environment set up. Every time I haven't coded for a while, I have to go back and I'm like, I'm on the wrong version of something, I gotta download it. I've been to so many hackathons where people said, man, the Streamlit part was so fun, but I only did it in like the last couple hours because I spent 90% of the time realizing that I had the wrong data set, right? That I had to clean it in a certain way, that I was running on the wrong version, right? All of this, again, gets in the way of, how can I just go from, I need to know this question our CEO asked us, right, to churning it out there. And so that's a lot of what we focus on the Snowflake side, right, is not just the Streamlit pit, and how can we make that great, but how do we make it so you can find that data easily, right? It's in there. You don't have to struggle with your environment. And that was the thing that we were most excited about, I think, when we joined Snowflake, is just by putting Streamlit directly on top of that. So as you kind of saw in the demo, we can just say, from this data set, right, can you do it? It's already observing, right, all of the permissions, the controls, right? I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to pay any costs from taking the data out, right? We talk with a lot of advanced research companies who are like, the amount of time and money we just spend taking the data, moving it here to work with it locally, moving it back, right? These are, hours, when you add it all up, days, years wasted, right, across the team.
That's also resource and money.
Exactly, it is resources and money. And lack of joy. That's the thing that I really focus on. And so that to me is the magic that we've been working for, is not having to struggle with your environment, right? Not having to do any of that kind of data traffic and management, knowing that it's secure and scalable, right? Just allows you to focus on that business problem, focus on that code. And I think when it's done well, it really is magical that you can just get that all done and shared, and you didn't have to think about any of the annoying bits.
In this era of vibe coding, what is Streamlit focusing on today? Personally, I really resonated with their direction, aiming to improve both the accuracy of code output and the intuitiveness of the developer experience.
It's a key focus of what we're talking about. Obviously, I showed you some of Copilot, but also how we're evolving in the library to have chat, to do other things to make it easy. Really, at the end of the day, I learn the most just watching our users, and we just say, what are you doing, what's interesting, and then how can we make that scalable, right? How we can bring it. That's how we first saw people hacking together, right? The chat bots, right? And wanting to put that in. A lot of what we've been talking about internally right now is how do we make sure that all the new generations of LLM tools will work seamlessly with Streamlit? How does that change our open source release process? How does it change, right, how we give examples and things like that, so that when you go to any tool in Snowflake or outside and you say, can you write this, it's going to write you perfect Streamlit code. Obviously, all of this new configurability that we're doing too, there are things that we're thinking about there. There's certain things that are better to do in more of a chat interface, but there's also so much more potential, right, for literally just drawing, right, something on the screen for you, for seeing that, for being able to point and click and say, I'd rather have dragged this over there, I'd rather this, be blue, not red. And ultimately, at the end of the day, even though Streamlit is a Python API, going back to that value proposition, we just want to make it fast, right, for you to get to that insight. And I think the key thing for a lot of AI and LLMs right now is just how do you get to that trusted insight? Right? How do you feel okay again about deploying this to that first person and then the 100th and then the 10,000th person to do that? And so making sure, right, that it works with LLMs, that we have all of the things, whether it's theming, right, or chat or whatever, and that those work, right, for LLMs to do that. But also that we maintain that clean readability, right, that it's easy to kind of talk to understand, right, what's happening in your app, right, to be able to look at that data. I think that's really, really important right now. You can say, no, don't send that chart to the CEO. That's not telling, right, the right story. We used the wrong data set. It's slicing the data in the right way. We need to go a couple layers deeper. Eventually, I think LLMs are going to be able to help us do that analysis as well. But we still really need people in the step to help translate, right? What are we doing? Is this the right thing? How do we make that call? And that's where apps can still be really, really powerful in understanding the data together. And so if we can make it faster with LLMs to do that, if we can make it so that you can use LLMs and agents in your apps, right? So you can do fancy things, and you saw some of that earlier when we were showing how we used agents, right, in an app to do these things. But you're making it easy for people to access it, right, with the right controls and security and everything. Then that, at the end of the day, is a winning formula for really helping businesses accelerate.
For more detailed technical documentation on Streamlit, click the card link at the top right. Lastly, your likes and subscriptions greatly empower us to continue creating content. Thank you for your support.